So let's quickly look at histogram. So what is a histogram? In a histogram, the width is proportional to the class interval while the height is proportional to the frequency. So as you can see, an histogram bears striking resemblance to a bar chart, but there are some significant differences between them. To start with, there are no gaps between the rectangular bars in an histogram. They are lumped together. And why is that? Because instead of having just single value being represented by the vertical bars, what you have is the class interval or the class boundary. So what this histogram tells us is that, as you can see, we have different class intervals. We have from 60 to 65, from 65 to 70, 70 to 75, 75 to 80, 80 to 85, 85 to 90, and this represents the height of black cherry trees. So for heights that fall between 60 to 65, if I trace it up to my frequency axis, I'm going to get 3. So what it means is that what there are 3 black cherry trees that fall between the height of 60 to 65. Similarly, there are 3 black cherry trees that fall between the height of 65 to 70. How about from 75 to 80 feet? We can see that there are 10 black cherries. So there are 10 black cherries that fall between the height of 75 to 80 feet. So if it were to be a bar chart, what you just add there will just be single values of height, but now we are having the range of height because we are dealing with histogram, and that is why they are lumped together, because they represent class intervals. So now for the previous example that we looked at when we are talking about group data, let's try to represent this information now on an histogram. So the way we do that is we have our vertical axis as usual, which represents the frequency, and we have our horizontal axis, and our horizontal axis in this case represent the class boundary. So for our class boundary, we start out from what 144.5. So I call here what 144.5. Then I move to what 154.5. Then I have 164.5, 174.5, 184.5, and 194.5. So my frequencies, I'm just going to label and use axis of scale of 3. So I have 3, 6, I have 9, I have 12, and I have 15. So for my range from 144.5 to 154.5, there are 6 students that fall within that range. So from year to year, I have 6 students. So I just have something that comes like this. Now from 154.5 to 164.5, I have 9 students. So I come to where there is 9 over here, trace it like this. So this represents for the other class interval. Then from 164.5 to 174.5, I have 15 students. So I move up to where I have 15 students, and I trace it down like this. Then for the next class interval, I have 5 students. So 5 will be somewhere around here. So I have 5 students. And finally, I just have 1 student between 154.5 to 194.5. So that will be somewhere around here. So as you can see, this is the way in which an histogram differs from a bar chart, because the horizontal axis in this case indicates the range or the class intervals, whereas if it were to be a bar chart, it would just represent singular values or singular heights in this particular case. So let's try to use that now, and let's try to solve another example. So I thought that the histogram above represents the weight of students who traveled out of their school for an examination. How many people made the trip? Now this is kind of like a trick question over here, because we're not giving any scale or any axis of the weight over here, so we don't know the values that are in these positions over here. But the thing is that we do not need to know what values are here, because we're just interested in the frequency, in the number of students. So now The number of students that fall within this range of height is what? 2. So we know that 2 students fall within this range of height. Within this range of height, the number of students that fall within it is what? Is 3. What about this range of weight? Rather, we have 5. This range of weight, we have 6. This range of weight over here, we have 8. This range of weight over here, we have 5. And this range of weight over here, we have 2. Now when we sum all this together, we get what? 31. So what does that mean? It means that the total number of people that traveled for this trip, there were 31 students altogether, which is the sum of the frequencies for each weight range. So that pretty much sums up our discussion on histogram. So now we are going to be looking at some past questions in the next section to see how to apply all the concepts we have learned so far.